when it comes to vulnerability, I feel pretty vulnerable when I'm involved. No, I'm playing, but
I knew this man was gonna. What is up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Boys in the Wild podcast, where we try and figure out this thing called life. My name is Alan Sheriff.
I'm Brian Roa.
Uncle Richie.
Dakota Brown.
And we are about to enter the wild. Yo, we got another special guest on the podcast. What am I saying another for? We have the first official guest of the Boys in the Wild podcast, man. Everybody please join me in welcoming that man, Dakota. Yo.
What's up, y'all? How y'all feeling?
Good, man. We're good. How you doing, Brian? How you feeling this morning, too? I got to ask my co-hosts how they're feeling, too. Shoot.
Yo, man, that escaping was lit, Owen, but other than that, I'm doing good. What about you, Richie Rich?
Yeah, bro, I'm good. I think I don't know, bro. I don't know if you guys can tell my voice. Like, I think I'm getting the flu or something. But yeah,
wishing you well, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I'll send you a get better card. So be on the lookout for that, bro.
I'm just worried, man. I hope it's not monkeypox.
Yo,
chill.
No, don't touch my man.
Yeah.
All right, man.
I know it might be, bro.
Oh God, no.
Oh God.
Who did you have sexual relations with? Anyway, back on topic.
Oh,
basically, that's how it's transmitted. Anyway, so basically, I know all of y'all had the chance to listen to Kendrick Lamar's new album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. It is an amazing production. The lyricism is insane. The features are insane. The concepts, the ideas are crazy. And I know he talks about a lot of stuff on this album, from infidelity to being able to recognize and respect his aunt's identity. And also to the most important subject that he discussed on the album was his vulnerability, how he's evolved, how he's grown as an individual, whether it's through therapy or his relationships, he's just grown and evolved as an individual. And I think it's amazing to see someone progress like that. And so it just begs the question, how vulnerable do you think we should be as men? Because I know Kendrick got very vulnerable with himself on this album, but as a general question applied to life, how vulnerable do you think we should be as men? So, I want to pivot that question to Dak, see if he wants to kick us off with his response. How are you feeling about it now?
So I've been thinking about this a lot since you first raised the question. When I look at it from the lens of Kendrick Lamar, I mean, this man's the king. He's been holding the crown for so long. He's undisputed. I think he's one of the greatest rappers of all time.
Respect.
So when you're vulnerable in a position like that, I mean, at the same time, you're still secure because, I mean, it's hard to undermine someone with so much strength like Kendrick Lamar. But when we're applying it to real life, like us everyday laymen, when we're looking at it from being vulnerable with another guy, I'm gonna talk from a position where I've been with like one of my own friends for real. There was this one instance where I don't remember the details, but like I shared some information with my close friend. He was my roommate. Like I lived with him. We would chill every night. And I told him about something that I had been personally struggling with. Not 10 minutes later, this man took that ammunition I gave him and turned around and pointed it right back at me.
Wow.
And it's not the first time he had like done something like that, but it was the first time he had taken something that I had literally just given him and used it against me right there. And when you first raised this question, it was something I was thinking about, because when you feel secure in your position and you feel confident, other people are going to want to take you down. Other people are going to want to take the crown from you. Facts. And that's something that I was struggling with my roommate. So being vulnerable is good. Being vulnerable is necessary in order to grow, in order to understand yourself and to learn. But you have to be very careful about who you trust with that information, because other men specifically will come and take shots at you.
Exactly. Yeah, bro. 100%. How you feeling, Brian? What do you think?
Yo, Dakota dropped some fire right there, man. Like, if I'm thinking about dropping a future album, I'm putting some of the words that Dakota just said, man, because that was some fire insight that he just gave. But from my take, I definitely agree with the fact that it is about who you surround yourself with and how comfortable you should be with being vulnerable and expressing your vulnerability. But also, I think there's another layer to that. And I also believe something that Kendrick has done in his album is where he talks about like the things that are very sensitive to him and how it connects with our real lives as guys, is that we should all be comfortable in expressing who we are, but disregarding the impact that other people can use it as ammunition for. And a little bit of a tongue twister from my end, but personally, when you come to the approach that I am comfortable with who I am, and depending on who I'm talking to, if I don't really think of ammunition as people are going to be taking advantage of what I say, but I use it as a stance of I am expressing who I am as a person. And it might be a question of how comfortable you are of who you're talking to and how you're feeling. If you're saying I'm down or I'm not feeling good, like my work-life balance is not feeling iffy right now, or any other stuff that's hurting you mentally, then I feel like you just want to get your feelings out. And not people, a lot of guys are not comfortable with actually like reaching out to a therapist or talking to their doctor. But I remember there were times when I was in my job search and I was feeling really mentally down. And I was telling my parents about how I'm struggling to just wake up and just keep moving with all this rejection coming on me. But in terms of like being surrounded with the people that you want to be with, I mean, I understand family is family, but it's also very important to surround yourself with friends that you know that got your back and know that they're not going to use as ammunition. Because I got friends, and I'm truly blessed to say that I got friends with people that they're telling me, "Hey, man, you're a great guy, and you got everything that a lot of people wish they had, and you're a blessing from the man above. So I got full faith in what you got to do." But what I'm trying to say is that if you don't focus too much on how people can use your words as ammunition, and you just try to surround yourself with people that really got your back, then I feel like when you're being vulnerable, you're not really going to think about how people are going to be taking advantage of you. And I'll conclude with this. I think it's very important that we as men become more comfortable with not thinking about the repercussions of being vulnerable, but rather think about the help that it will have, all of the alleviated stress that goes away when you get those words out your chest. But what do you think, Richard, about that? But that's just what I think about that, man.
Okay, so for me, um, first things first, I'm still going through the Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers album. So like,
Morale.
yes, it
Mr.
is.
Morale.
Yes, it is. And yeah, being vulnerable, like, all right, this is the way I kind of just go about my life. Um, I really don't think I've ever really just opened up to, or if I haven't, I don't know if occasions, in terms of just being emotionally vulnerable and stuff like that. I always try to just like keep my stuff in. But it's sometimes you just gotta let it out. Um, and I really can't remember the last time I did that, to be honest with you. But there's always a stigma, especially when you come from like our cultures. I know like in the Hispanic community, Brian and Alwyn and the in our African community, it's always like you always gotta be like a big strong dude. I don't know what the Dakota Brown is. So I don't know what his his culture is, but I'm pretty sure it's the same. Worldwide. You just gotta be like a kind of a dude who has a big chest, you know, and kind of just walks around with a big chest, like nothing gets to you. But I actually don't know how to answer that question because, like, if I was to have a kid, like, how vulnerable do I want him to be? Is something I'm not sure about. At some point, man, like I feel like I'm the type of dude who just took like, you know, I don't know. In fact, actually, I do. When it comes to vulnerability, um, I feel pretty vulnerable when I went bald. No, I'm playing, but
I knew this man was gonna.
Bro, the hairline kind of receding, bro. I'm seeing like the hairline's going back a couple inches, bro.
Come on, man. You about to start making me feel self-conscious about my own too, man.
Brian, know you're not talking, and Alan, you better not talk.
Yeah, bro. That's what I'm saying. That's why I was like, don't make me start feeling self-conscious about my own. But no, I mean, look, I think that I think that there's a general consensus here. Like, I really don't think any of us really disagree on this. I think that it is important, which is basically what I was going to say, that we all need to be vulnerable around the people that matter to us. And we all need to be vulnerable in times where our lack of vulnerability is hurting us. So for example, you wouldn't know that you were probably depressed if you hadn't disclosed a few signs to your therapist. There might have been some things that you weren't even culturally, socially, or, just in any type of way psychologically aware of that would have helped pinpoint the help that you would need at that point in time. And so it's people who tend to hold stuff in that end up getting hurt the most. And I know we live in this culture where, it's not easy to be vulnerable. We have so many different settings that we're supposed to kind of orchestrate ourselves in, whether we're in a business environment, when we're around people that we don't want to really share our ideas with or how we're feeling, or whether we're, with it might just be friends, tough friends, who probably had a tough upbringing with you, and you're living on the streets and you can't really express how you feel because that's not how the way you're supposed to put yourself out there. Otherwise, like Dakota said, people will take advantage of you. They'll use that as an ammunition. So I understand that's the world.
Absolutely.
And if you feel like you can't do that, then that's completely fine. I completely understand. But I think that, again, at the end of the day, if your lack of vulnerability is hurting you when you feel like there's something really wrong, I think that it's important for you to be able to have those conversations either with your therapist or people that matter to you, people that you love, your family members, your friends, because this is how people are able to give you the feedback that you're looking for, or you just need someone to vent to so that they can tell you themselves that they're going through it too. And then there will be a sense of camaraderie. Everybody will feel interconnected. Everyone will feel a lot better knowing that someone else is going through it, because we all don't like feeling like we're going through something alone. So that's all I would really say. And I think that we're all in consensus here about that. It's like we have to be vulnerable around the people that we love and respect, and who will give us the keys to success. Because with this society that we live in, with, I don't want to be vulnerable because, you never know what's going to happen. And, I don't believe in it. I don't respect it. I don't appreciate any of it. And anyway, let me hush up.
Let me jump in on this. I want to jump in on some point. And this connects to the album because, again, how much I love Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. The last track of the album, when he has a song called Mirror, and it's that beautiful refrain that goes, I chose me, I'm sorry. And you kind of go through that journey of when you talk about how you're getting your vulnerability out there, and you made a good point about how you shouldn't you should think about vulnerability in situations of the people that you're talking to. But I also believe that there's the effect of thinking the long game of what would it be like, and it's just a perception shift in your thinking where you kind of go from what are people going to think about me to what is going to happen when I actually reveal myself, that I'm actually being vulnerable. I express either if I'm depressed or I'm feeling impatient or I'm feeling anxious or any of those feelings. And it kind of ties into like what Kendrick did on that album where he had that beautiful refrain in the song Mirror, I chose me, that I'm sorry, where he actually decided to choose himself. And that's the kind of, I guess, connection that I see with this call, everybody expressing about how come you should be with being vulnerable, where you are choosing yourself. Like, I'm choosing me. I'm not looking at what society says that men should do. I'm actually looking at what I would choose for my personal well-being. And personally, like, I almost teared up when I was like listening to that album and just saying like, man, the stigma that Kendrick had, like making Good Kid, Mad City, talking about the West Coast hip hop game and how you got to be like this head honcho, and especially like a dangerous area like Compton, versus now when he goes through an entire therapy session for a good hour and 13 minutes and expressing now that I choose me and I'm no longer like your savior. Like, do not look at me as like a martyr or anything. That's how we should be looking at our lives. Like, we're not martyrs to anybody. Like, we're going after our well-being, and being able just to be comfortable with who you are and being able to express your well-being, it just feels so rewarding just on the long term. And I'm just going to say, to conclude everything I said, focus on the effects and focus on just the rewards that you get when you actually reveal who you are as a person, instead of just keeping it bottled in like Kendrick did on the album. It was just a beautiful way to sum up how he just started out versus how he's feeling now and choosing himself. Choose yourself, guys. And that's what I think about that. Just choose yourself.
Well said.
Brian,
well said.
I hear that.
Yeah, dude.
All right, guys, here's my hot take. Just a quick one. I wanted to ask you this. This might be a little bit controversial, but all right, let's say this. Maybe sometimes, being here's what I think. I don't think you should be vulnerable frequently. Okay.
Mm.
And what I'm trying to say is,
Kind of agree with that.
I'm sorry, man. Do I
So-
feel like that's what we just said though? Like, I'm
nah,
sorry.
listen, bro. Sometimes
alright,
what I'm
yeah,
trying to say is like sometimes you gotta, we're on the world's a big bad place. Stuff happens, whatever. But I feel like sometimes you kind of have to have a thick skin or arm around certain things, and sometimes you might need to just bottle some stuff up because like that builds resilience. Because it's like this, right? If you go slap someone, right, it's gonna like hurt. But if you slap them again, then like the skin is gonna be thicker, so that they're not gonna get hurt as much. If you like,
You know,
what I'm
Shut
saying?
up.
Dakota, no,
Shut up.
for real, Dakota.
Hold on,
Shut
I want to hear his
Dakota,
point. I want to hear his point.
But you get, am I making like sense here?
yeah.
No.
It's like the thing with guys is like,
I kind of see the
No,
connection.
guys is people,
I'm sorry,
people
man.
test each other. People test each other. Even if it's not even direct,
Yeah.
like indirectly, men will be testing each other. You're sizing each other up. You're seeing what's good. You're doing a little face smack, seeing how he's gonna react. What's he gonna do? I mean, people
No,
test each
bro.
other. You need to be resilient. You need to be ready to bounce back.
I get what y'all are saying,
But in
y'all
terms of
can't
like
make
an
this
emotional, like
comparison,
from an
bro.
emotional perspective,
Y'all can't.
Yeah, you
No,
can't
like,
cry
how
about
I'm
it.
trying
You
to
just gotta
say
play.
is-
You know, there's a huge difference.
Step
between
into the
slap-
ring.
You know, there's a huge difference between slap boxing and vulnerability.
No, it's a
like,
metaphor.
bro, if I
It's a
slap
Like
you,
metaphor.
verbal
there's
slaps.
a chance
you know?
you're gonna die. Like, especially if you get slapped hard enough. Like, if Gervonta Tank Davis slapped you
All right,
right
no.
now, it'll probably be the end
Modern
of your career.
society,
But if
we
you're
don't
vulnerable,
fight with our bodies no more.
but
we fight with
if
words.
you're building vulnerability, okay, I can understand a little bit when you talk about how, oh yeah, we have to bottle things up because it kind of helps us express ourselves in a way where we can navigate the world because you never know where the sharks are at in the water. But at the same time, bro, like I don't think it's really necessary. I think that as long as you have the right support circle and the right people telling you the right things, and you have people who you can go to about these issues, there's no reason to put it in. I'm sorry. I don't know. I just
I know what you're
No,
talking
like, what
about.
I'm
I do
trying
to
disagree
say
with
is-
bottling it up,
Mm.
though.
I'm like, am I crazy? Or
No, I understand. I understand the connection with mental toughness, which Richard might be getting at, like being able
Okay.
to have that thick skin where you're becoming tougher, where you don't just give up. Let's say in a work situation where you're in a toxic environment and you suddenly quit, where you had opportunity to really just stretch it out versus just, I guess, just
well, that I
deviate
can
from the situation. But I kind of get what Richard's
that I can
saying. But
disagree with too, though. That
bottling up, I don't really agree. Like kind
disagree.
of bottling up your emotions because. I mean, the
Nah, 'cause sometimes
toxicity of like
it's
bottling up is
what
bad,
happens
man.
when your group goes away.
Say again?
Yeah, but like what I'm trying to say is like what happens when your support structure is not longer there. Like I've had situations in my life where
Good question.
I didn't have that support structure no more. So for me, like I had to figure out how to deal with my own stuff internally, and that helped me become a little bit more resilient. So that the next situation that I was in where I felt where I wanted to be vulnerable, or a situation where I felt that wasn't really like optimal, I was able to handle that stuff internally because I built up resilience. So that kind of just goes back to what I was saying with that stamping metaphor. Like, sometimes you gotta have a thick skin.
I get that
Because
I really
your people
yeah.
now, your people now, they're not always gonna be there. So that's what I'm trying to say.
But I mean, we've been here for you, bro. You're not bottling anything up right now, are you?
That's cool, y'all.
You can talk with us about it. I mean, it's only a podcast. It's not like everybody's gonna hear what you think. It's not
Yeah,
like
I
everybody's
do
gonna
need
hear
to
your
bounce
thoughts,
off this
feelings.
idea though. Like the thing that I've been thinking about, like if you're being too vulnerable with your friends, you can end up pushing them away when you're like, let's say you're really going through it, like you're having a really hard time and it's been prolonged, and you keep coming back to them for support. Eventually, you're just gonna lean on them, and then they're all the way over here now, and you just collapse. I mean, how much is someone going to risk to save a drowning man. If it looks like you can't help yourself, they might just let you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's that aspect, it's that if you're not putting in the necessary work, because you can be vulnerable with your friends all you want, but if you're not putting in that necessary work
for yourself,
you're building yourself up, then that's a huge problem. I don't think there's anything wrong with being vulnerable with friends. And I was about to say, well, sometimes it can depend, because a friend can act like they're listening to you, but they don't really care. You know what I mean? So there's another aspect to it. But I mean, at the end of the day, shoot, we could have this conversation all day long. But unfortunately, we have run out of time. But this was a freaking awesome conversation, y'all. I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in again to the boys.
Yeah, I have fun, boys.
Love having
Shout
this
out
man
to the
Dakota on.
homie
Shout out to
Dakota.
Dakota.
Bro.
USG fam.
This
Man.
man
out
really
here.
set the stage with the thought
Maryland.
from the beginning.
Let's go.
Respect.
Let's get it.
Anyway, yeah, bro. But what's going on with those socials, Brian?
Ayo, remember, y'all, you can follow us on IG and YouTube at Boys and Wild Podcast and on Twitter at Boys and Wild. And remember, we want to hear from you guys. How vulnerable should men be? Let us know in the comment section ASAP. And remember, y'all, keep it short.
Keep it short. Keep it real. Keep it short. Keep it real.
Vitamin D on YouTube. Shout out Muhammad. I know you're watching, my boy.
Hey.
What a milk at?
Shout out to Muhammad too.